One day she said to me, I'm going to move to Chicago because I just really want to be with you. This is really special. And she had cleared out everything in the home, including my clothes. And I mean, everything.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Best Life Ever podcast. And I'm pretty excited today because I have a good friend of mine here, Jay Sutphin. And we met in a networking event once, and then we decided to have lunch, and we really connected instantly. We kind of knew we were going to be friends. Something in the air made us friends. And he's just dear to me. So, I know that probably everybody that meets Jay is excited about him, but I'm just going to claim that he's my special friend. So, but anyway, currently he's doing very meaningful work, and I hope that we have enough time for him to talk about it because it's something that is dear to my program, and it's about wills and POAs and things like that. I'm going to let him explain that later, and then we're going to talk about a story that he has that is about a guy that really got kicked in the butt getting divorced. And I'm going to tell you something. There's not a lot of guys out there that I get to talk to about this, but I hope that a bunch of guys listen to this so that they know that they can go on. Because I do know that, there's a lot of women dragging their butts around because their husbands left, but man, there's a lot of guys that just lost everything. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how he miraculously overcame it, which is pretty incredible to me. So, all right. So, Jay, I just want to ask a few questions so that everybody knows you. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, where were you born? And
Well, Connie, I'm so thrilled to be here. I really am. I just adore you, and whatever I can do to support you, I'm all in. And
thank
I'm
you.
just so glad you asked me to have me here. I am a Chicago guy through and through, born and raised. Lived in Uptown and then West Rogers Park. Went to college about 40 miles west of Chicago. Spent most of my life in the western suburbs. I'm a sports guy. Went to college on sports scholarship money, and I just love people, love life. I've spent most of my life in the marketing and the sales world, but I have started, oh gosh, 3 or 4 different companies over the years with as many as 33 employees, and then I started another company where I put on golf tournaments where it was just me. So.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
it's always people oriented and people related. I come from a really great family, just salt of the earth people. My parents divorced when I was about 5, and my mom raised myself and my 2 younger sisters herself in the mid 60s, which is kind of heroic in and of itself.
Yeah.
I had my grandmother, her mother, in the house with us, so they kind of worked a deal where she said, "I'll help you raise these heathen kids, but when I get old, you have to promise not to put me in a nursing home." And my mom kept her word, and Grandma lived to be 96, if you can imagine. So
Wow.
that's the kind of background that I've had. Just salt of the earth, good people, but I love my Chicago. If that's still something people do, I still love my
Yeah.
hometown.
Yeah, I do too, and I don't live there anymore. I'm in Nashville, but I'm with you. I love Chicago. I do. I
And I
really do.
love Nashville too. Just for the
Yeah,
record, for
yeah,
Nashville people, I love Nashville too.
yeah. I just, I got tired of the weather, so I'm here.
I hear you. I'm old enough that I've lived through the 3 biggest snowstorms in Chicagoland
Me
history, so
too.
that's
Yeah,
about enough. I've
yeah.
had about enough.
I missed the last one. I just moved to Georgia when they had that 26 inches of snow, and I
Yeah.
missed that. And I was like, "Oh, I'm okay. I don't care." It's all right. Anyway, so I wanted to ask you, did you go Northwestern?
No, no, no. I went to Aurora University, which is a
Oh,
small
wow.
liberal arts school
Yeah.
out west of the city.
Yeah,
I
wow.
actually got accepted to Northwestern, but it was too expensive for my family, so I ended up and then I wouldn't have been able to play sports, so it kind of worked out in the long run. So
All right, so that gives a little bit about Jay. And Jay's single, ladies, so if you're She does.
He's single and retired from dating. How about that?
He's retired. Well, dating isn't the thing anyway. You know what? It's relationships. It's not about dating. I don't like to date either, but that's why I'm single because I don't like to date. I just feel like, hey, if I'm supposed to be with somebody, he'll find me, and then we can date. But it's not dating a bunch of people. I don't like to do that either. So it's too
Yeah.
hard. But I want to once you start talking about your story, I want to hear about the you mentioned to me, you talked to me about your divorce story, and it was very, very powerful to me of what you went through. And I've been divorced myself, so I have had hardships. And no, I was a single mom like your mom. I didn't know you were raised in a single mom household.
Hmm.
That does say a lot about you and how you're disciplined and you're doing good. So let's start with that story. Um, when you got
Okay.
married, and let's.
Okay. Well, first thing I want to tell you is this was a very long time ago. It was 33 years ago, so it was 1991. And this really, honestly, and I thank you for this opportunity. This is the first time I've ever really shared this story with anyone, and and I promise every word of it is true. And you'll shake your head and wonder, oh my gosh, how is that even possible?
Thank you.
And when I was going through it, I was thinking the same thing. But I'm also not here, to bash anybody or play a victim. I was a big boy and I made my own
You did.
choices. So I simply just want to give hope to people that get in very difficult situations
Mhm.
and that you can, get past it without, becoming a drug addict or drinking or
Killing yourself.
being able to blame the
Yeah.
rest of your life on whatever the situation is. So that's
Yeah.
kind of my whole meaning to come here. So
Thank you.
um, that being said, so in 1991, I was about 32 years old,
Mhm.
and I married someone that I had only known for about 3 months, which I do not recommend. I thought I was husband number two, but in fact, I was husband number seven.
Wow.
She is currently on husband number 15.
Oh my.
So if you need a hook, there's the hook right there.
Oh my gosh.
So 3 years prior, I went on a business trip to the Ozarks of Missouri, and I met a woman out at a club one night with my coworkers. And then the next night, she and I went to dinner. We had a lovely time. But then I went back to Chicago, and it really didn't go anywhere. So then, fast forward 3 years later, she gives me a call out of the clear blue sky and just says, "Hey, I just wondered whatever happened to you. I'm living in St. Louis now, and strangely enough, I was going to St. Louis that particular weekend. I said, "Hey, that's great. Why don't we get together?" So we went and we met up and we had a great time. And then the next weekend, she came to Chicago, and then I went back down there. And so for about 2 months, we're going back and forth. And she's a lovely woman. She's 6 feet tall, uh, very attractive. Was a office manager for dental practices, so she had steady job, good education, and very, very personable. And so one day she said to me, "I'm going to move to Chicago because I just really want to be with you. This is really special." And so I had come out of a long-term relationship where I lived with somebody who was actually 15 years older than me for about 5 years. And so I thought, well, you know what? If you're going to come to Chicago, why don't we just get married? Which, again, that one's on me totally. And she, of course, was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And so we went ahead and we got married, and with the red flags flying everywhere because nobody on her side came to the wedding. So
No.
there were a lot of red flags proudly flying. So we got married, and everything seemed really, really great. And we were well suited. My friends liked her. My family really liked her. And then one afternoon in late September, I'm home. I get home from work, and there's a knock on my front door, and I go to the door, and it's the police.
Wow.
And they asked me, "So are you Jay?" And I said, "Yeah." And they told me that they were there to arrest me,
Oh,
claiming that I had accosted her that particular morning. The
oh,
reality was I hadn't even seen her that morning.
Oh,
And in the state of Illinois, if a woman says something like that, they have to follow through. Now,
right.
whether or not it's fair, I'm not going to debate that, and I understand it. And it's better to, um, detour on the side of safety. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I'd,
But
I'd
now,
much rather
now they look
women.
at both, they look at both parties now, Jay. They'll
Well,
look at,
again, this was
yeah,
this was
yeah,
1991.
right.
Um,
Mhm.
but so again, as I said, I was raised in a house of all women. The last thing that I'm going to do is that my mother would have beat me to death with her shoe if I had ever thought about something like that, and my grandma would have taken the frying pan to me. But so anyway, by the time I got out, which was about 12 hours in the Hooskow, she had cleared out everything in the home, including my clothes, and I mean everything.
Wait a
She
minute. How,
had emptied
how long,
emptied my.
how
Go
long were
ahead.
you married? How long were you married?
9 months. We were married 9 months.
9 months and she did this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I had to
No,
get
it's
that.
no, it's fine. So she emptied my bank account, which had about 40,000 in it, which at 33, I was pretty happy about that. Then somehow she had transferred my car into her name as well.
Mhm.
All this in the 12 hours that I'm in the Hooskow. And that was just a start. So over the next 7 or 8 months, I and my family lived a nightmare that you just um, so what would happen is she would again call the police, say he drove by my house. Well, when you have an order of protection, that's a violation. So it turned out every Tuesday the police are coming to my house and arresting me and taking me down to 26th in California, which is like the worst jail
Yeah,
in many, many, many states.
yeah.
And I'm in there, for like 24 hours at a time. And so eventually, long story short, I was arrested 8 times for 11 different charges, all related to violations of order of protection.
And all lies, all lies.
All every one of them. Sometimes I wasn't even in the state when she claimed that these things had happened. So now I'm looking at. So again, she's taken everything. I have nothing. I'm completely, I don't have a job anymore. I am living with my mom and my grandmother at 33 and looking at, quite honestly, and very seriously, 7 years in jail for
Yeah.
these false charges. So again, I don't have any money. So they assigned me these two public defenders, and they said to me, they're like, Jay, when we first got this file, we thought you were some kind of crazy maniac. But I had a very good idea, and God works in amazing ways.
Mhm.
So I had heard of one previous husband that she had, and he was a grand gentleman who was a dentist who was about 20 years older than her.
Mhm.
And so one day I just picked up the phone and I called him down in the Ozarks, and I said, "Hey, Pat, my name is Jay Sutphin. I just wanted to ask you, you were married to this person, and did you ever go through anything similar?" And he says to me, Jay, I've been waiting for this call ever since. And then he named my wedding date. He says, have you got a few minutes? And so he and I spent about 4 hours on the phone. I
Yeah.
jumped in my car and I drove 8.5 hours down and stayed with him for 2 days.
Mhm.
And he filled me in on not just what she had put him through, but the other previous 5 husbands that she was married to. I got off pretty easy. She actually held a gun on him until he signed over the deed to the lake house. Um, yeah. So anyway, so he tells me all this stuff. And the other interesting thing to me was every one of the other husbands eventually, after dealing with her, went on to become amazingly successful. One guy was on the board at Walmart. The other guy was the top um, architect in the state of Missouri. So it's like she got these guys, but she got them at the early point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so anyway, Pat was pretty much so he gave me and the attorneys a lot
Okay.
that we could work with. Okay, so now I've got nothing, and things are speeding towards the trial. So throughout the preliminary hearings of these cases, I kept getting this judge, and this guy, for whatever reason, he was out. The judge, he just did not like me, or he didn't like my attorneys or whatever. But every single thing that we put forward, shot down. And like we were going, this is not going to go good. We could seriously end up in jail. And she had said to me, now I'm not saying that this happened, but she did say to me, I'll do whatever it takes to put you in jail, Jay, if I have to sleep with the judge. And I said, what did I ever do to you? She goes, doesn't matter. So, and again, she was a very attractive woman, but this judge really had it out for me. So now everything comes full circle. The day of the trial comes. Just before we go to court, and I want to tell you in all seriousness, this is the day that I learned that God exists.
Yes, He does.
And prayers of your grandmother, are so powerful.
Yeah.
Minutes before we go into this trial, all my cases got moved to a different courtroom. Two courtrooms down, and it was this wonderful judge who looked like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she did not have a moment of patience for my ex-wife and her shenanigans.
Wow.
She shot the whole thing down from the get-go. And we were there about 4 hours, and I had to put my 89-year-old grandmother on the stand, my mother, my sisters, and we used a lot of the information that Pat had given me about prior stuff that she had done. But nobody in the world can tell me that there was not some kind of and the attorneys looked into it. They're like, we have no idea why this is moved to this other courtroom. But it really was a godsend. So, so we get to the end of the trial, okay? And the wonderful little judge, she says, now, normally I would go in my chambers and deliberate about this, but this just isn't necessary. This is the most ridiculous thing that's ever come into my courtroom. Not guilty on all charges. And she looked at her and said, young lady, you should be ashamed of yourself for what you put this man and his family through. They had to put his 89-year-old grandmother on the stand. Shame on you for doing that. And then she looks at the prosecutor and goes, and you, young man, next time you come into my courtroom, you can expect to lose. We are done here. Slam the gavel and we're out. So from 7 years to and being arrested every Tuesday and going down to 26 in California, it was amazing and a joyous time.
What a terrible time, though. It's 9 months of marriage, all that jail, and 7 years to solve the problem. How did you do that?
I was looking at 7 years, like going to jail. If I had been found convicted, I would have gone to jail for 7 years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't want to give her any more opportunities. So, and the divorce had come final at that particular point. Yeah. So to escape her, what I did was and I know this sounds crazy, but I moved to her hometown, 512 miles away, in the Ozarks of Missouri, because I figured, because she'd once said to me, I'd never move back to Springfield, Missouri. And I thought, that's the place for me, because she can't say I drove by her house if I'm 512 miles away. So I got an opportunity to go there. I loaded up my little car, which was worth about $400, the old Renault Encore. And I had everything I owned. I packed it in that little car, and how it made it the 8.5 hour trip, I have no idea. I had $100 in my pocket, and I headed out down there. And I remember it was my mother's birthday, so it was September 26th, 1993. And I got there on fumes, and then just kind of by happenstance, once I got there, I got involved. I met a gentleman at a cocktail party. And he said, he was an attorney. He says, I own this this company. They manufacture propellers for bass boats and speedboats and stuff. And I inherited it because the guy couldn't pay his bill. If you, I need somebody who can do some sales and marketing. I'm like, I'm your guy. Count me in. Now, remember, I'm a Chicago boy. Connie, I had never been on a boat in my life.
Oh,
And now
wow.
I'm working for a propeller company.
Oh, wow.
But I went to work, put my nose to the grindstone.
Mhm.
All that craziness was behind me. Although she did try a few things once
Oh,
I got down there. But at the time, I worked for an attorney, so he's like, "I'll take care of it. Don't worry."
oh, good, good.
And so we never heard from her.
Yeah.
So I went to work for this company, and I just did really basic marketing and sales too. They really had the best product, but they just really didn't know how to kind of get it out there. And so I just kind of applied some things. And now again, this is a company that had again a bunch of hillbilly good old boys in the Ozarks,
Mhm.
but real craftsmen. And so they had been in business 8 years, never made a profit. And the first year we did so well, he made me the president of the company
Wow.
after 9 months. First year we did 1.2 million profit the first
Wow.
year, 2.6 the next year,
Mhm.
and we were on our way to the to over 3 million profit the next year. But
Wow.
we had an issue. I inherited a sales guy, and God love him, he was a great guy, but he liked to drink, and so he would go down to the lake with the boat owners and be drinking all day, and then drive the company van back home. And I'm like, so I would go to the owner and I would say, dude, we've got to let him go. And he goes, no, you can't let him go. And I had this conversation about every quarter with him. And so finally, after 3 years, I told him, I said, Gary, everything he knows, I now know. And there's no point of him. We have 33 employees, all of whom I got life insurance or health insurance for, which they had never had before. And we were killing it. And I
Yeah.
said, all he has to do is like wreck that van, and we're all, it's all over.
Yeah.
And so finally, I was feeling my oats a little bit, and I said, "Well, you know what, Gary? It's him or me."
Mm.
And so he said, "Well, we'll sure miss you."
Oh, no.
Yeah, true story. So what
Oh, man.
I called it, and so he I stood
Wow.
up and he shook my hand. I walked out of there, and I went, "Well, okay, genius. What are you going to do now?"
Where were you
So
living? Where were you living when you moved down there? Did you have an apartment, a house? Did you move into
I
a
actually,
hotel?
actually, I had met. That's a great question. I had met a woman as soon as I got down there. We didn't get married in 3 months, but we got
Yeah.
married about 9 or 10 months afterwards. And I really mean this when I say this. My very best friend told me at the time, he goes, "Listen, man, you got to see a person in all 4 seasons. You can't trust because they can pretend for 1 season or two, but they're not going to be able to pretend all 4 seasons." And that was a really wise. So
Yeah.
once this my second wife and I had known each other into that 4th season, I went, okay, let's go ahead and get married. So
Yeah.
it was good. But we had this. We lived in this. It was just the two of us. We lived
Uh-huh.
in this wonderful little house that was built for the returning veterans in 1944, 1945. So,
Nice.
and it's a wonderful little town.
Yeah.
Springfield, Missouri. It's a very big medical
Yeah.
town, and it's very interesting place.
Yeah.
So now here I am, and I go home and I tell her what happened to me,
Mhm.
Mr. Big Shot, and she said, "Well, what are we going to do now?" So what had happened was I had come up with a specific design for a new product, a new type of propeller,
Okay.
or a kind of a modification. But we were so busy and we were doing so well that I could not get it into production.
Hmm.
So I said to her, I said, "You know what? I've got this product that's actually better. Boats go faster, they handle better, whatever." I said, "Why don't I just write a business plan and start our own company?"
No.
She goes, "Well, I'll write it and let's see what goes on from there." So I went I went and I rented a hotel room during the Masters, which was really, and I'm a golfer, and it was very distracting. But I wrote this business plan, and I got great help from the um, Small Business Development Center. People were really wonderful, and they really helped me. And
Yes,
I submitted
I
it
used
to the
that.
bank.
Yeah.
I submitted to the bank, and about 2 months later, I got word, and they go, "It's a go." And so they gave me a loan
Oh,
for $1.4 million.
wow.
I went and I did all the molds and all the kind of stuff and all
In the
those
same
things.
town? In the same town?
Same. Well, it was
Oh,
it was the next town over.
okay.
So now the question is, who am I going to hire? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I kind of put the word out that I'm starting this company
Hmm.
to about 6 or 7 people at the other company, and they were calling me and going, "Oh, things are so rough here. It's not the same," and blah blah blah. And so I put the word out that on this particular day, I'm going to be hiring and opening for business.
Wow.
Connie, this is a true story. The first day, 15 of their 33 employees came to work for me,
Oh my
and
God.
within a week, 30 of the 33 came to work for me
Oh
and
my
put the
God.
other company out of business
Oh
and
wow.
completely put. And the name of my company was Revenge Performance Marine.
That's that's incredible. Oh my gosh. I think I had you sent me some pictures. And I
Yeah.
think,
So
yeah.
very shortly after we opened, and so the key thing I want to tell you about that is that our opening day was September 26,
Oh,
1996, which
your
was
mom's birthday.
three
Yeah.
years to the day of when I first went down there. Which was so many blessings and so many great things about it. And so now we're with this fledgling little company, and so they put us on the cover of the Business Journal, which was really cool. Wrote a nice
Uh-huh.
article. We got a good kick in the pants from that. And then I got a call one day from this guy I had met a few times, and he was the editor of a very big boating kind of magazine. And he
Yeah.
says, "Hey Jay, I hear you got a new company down there." I said, "Yeah." And I had been doing business with a lot of the big boat manufacturers
Mhm.
in Arkansas, just across the border. There are a lot of these bass boat manufacturers, and so I was already selling to a lot of those. So
Yeah.
he had heard about me, and he goes, "We're doing a very special article. We're gonna take one boat, and we're reaching out to every uh, company, every propeller company, and you send us your prop, and we're going to slap it on there, and we're going to measure the performance, um, and we're going to see who wins."
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, great!" I said, "When do I have to have it to you by?" He goes, "I have to have it here tomorrow." I'm like,
Oh my God.
so I ran up to the stock room. I sent about, I think, 2 of them out, and I sent it off, never thinking about it again. And then about 2 months later, the article comes out, open it up, and I read it, and we came in first in every single category, which
Oh
was
my God. Oh my God.
incredible. So
Wow.
I need to put it in perspective, because we are at that point like 4 or 5 months old as far as the
Wow.
company goes, and we're competing against Mercury Marine or
Wow.
OMC that
Wow.
each have like 1,000 engineers.
Wow.
So it really was just, and we just kind of exploded from there.
Yeah.
So it was a long way from looking at 7 years to that kind of happening and that kind of
Yes.
wonderful blessings in my life. But
Yes.
I want to tell you the final last part of this, which um, is the most important thing to me. So we get a little further down the road, about 3 or 4 months later, and my beloved mother came down to visit us, and she and I are out on my back patio, and we're just enjoying the day and having a good time. And she looks at me and she goes,
Mm.
"I have something I want to tell you." And I'm like, "Oh, this isn't good."
Mm.
No conversation starts out with that. It starts out this.
Uh-huh.
And she
Yeah.
goes, "You know, all that divorce stuff." She goes, um, "I was there." She goes, "I was there. I watched you every second through this.
Mhm.
And she goes, I want to tell you, I was so afraid that you were going to jump off a building or get into drugs or become an alcoholic
Mhm.
or I was just so afraid because the pressure that was on you and
Mhm.
what you went through, I can't imagine how that happened or how you were able to do that. And
Yeah.
she goes, I still go to sleep at night with chills thinking about what could have happened. And she just said, I want to know, how did you get through that?
Yeah. Wow. Did she
So
cry?
here's my hero asking me,
Oh.
you know, so I got up and went over and kissed her on the forehead.
Oh.
I said, Mom, I'm your son. I've watched you be a single mom and raise us three knuckleheads. Uh, I never thought of those other things. I mean, there's no option. I
Yeah.
watched you just charge forward
Yeah.
and handle a problem when it comes. And that's, and so
Wow.
that was kind of full circle for me to do that. So, she was an amazing, amazing human being. And I
Yeah.
want to share this little bit of a story.
Okay.
Kind of gives you an idea. So, and my mother was from Martin, Tennessee, just up the road from
Yeah.
Nashville.
Mhm. Yeah.
So this is mid-60s. She's newly divorced. And one Saturday morning, without telling anybody, she came and got me up early. I was 7 years old. It was 1966.
Mhm.
And she says, put on your suit. We're going somewhere. It's like, okay, it's an adventure with just me and mom. This is going to be pretty cool, right?
Mhm.
So we jump on the L, which in it's the subway if you're not from Chicago.
Mhm.
And we jump on the L and we take two buses. And we end up on the west side of Chicago.
Where I grew up.
Right. And in 1966, a certain reverend with the initials MLK,
Uh-huh.
MLK Jr., he spent that summer in Chicago protesting for better housing for uh, blacks in the area.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember.
My mother took me and we marched, and I was probably about
Wow.
10 yards behind him. I watched that gentleman get hit in the head with half a brick, and he went down, and he
Wow.
got up and took his handkerchief out of his pocket, dabbed his head, and we continued on.
Wow.
That was the greatest gift ever given to me.
Yeah.
Now, was it pretty? No, people were spitting at us, people are screaming and yelling at us,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
for my mom, this gal raised in Tennessee, if
Yeah.
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take that on
Mhm.
and to want to expose me to that,
Yeah. Yeah. That
that
was
that
great.
really that set the tone for kind
Yeah.
of how things worked out in my life.
Yeah. I remember that. And I know that I don't think we went to that, but when I moved to Georgia in 1998 or nine, I met Alveda King, which is the niece
Oh
of
wow.
Martin, and we became friends. She's pretty famous now, but she took me to the Martin Luther King Museum in Atlanta and stayed with me and toured with me. And then we went to Washington, D.C. Together in this big group to talk to we walked the halls of Congress. And I learned a lot from her. I mean, she originally came to a church to speak, and then we just got to be friends. I was working for Dale Carnegie at the time, and yeah, she got bigger and bigger. So of course we separated, as far as our any kind of friendship. But I remember her, and she is a very nice woman, and she knows a lot of what happened during all that time. And
Yeah.
she shared it. She used to share it at churches, and she shared a lot. Hopefully, one day she'll share it. But yeah, Martin Luther King was really touched by God to change the world. He did, kind of like Kelly,
Yeah, he absolutely
change
did.
the world. Yeah,
He absolutely did. He
some
certainly changed my world. So I can tell
yes,
you that personally.
some
But
people didn't.
let me tie this all back around
Okay,
here.
go for it.
So what I do in my profession is I talk to people about the need for having a will and avoiding probate and those kinds of things.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting story.
Tell us who you work for first. Tell us the
I
name of
work
the
I work for a wonderful law firm here in the Chicagoland area called Russo Law. We have 4 lady attorneys. I'm the only guy in the building that
Oh, wow.
it's
I
all
didn't know
it's
that.
10 women. It's 10 women and me.
Oh,
Brilliant, very sharp and very empathetic people that do estate planning. We do probate work. We do guardianship for seniors and those kinds of things. So, but just to tie it real back around, very recently, it was within the last couple of years, Dr. King's family was fighting about what to do with his Bible, his briefcase from the day he was shot, and some other items. So probate has been going on in that family since 1968 until about 2 or 3 years ago.
wow.
This just gives you an example of the craziness that goes on in this field. Bob Marley passed away in 1981. His estate just got finalized last year. So, I mean, I can't express it enough to people. And right now, and this is a staggering statistic. 2 out of 3 adult Americans, 2 out of 3 across every ethnic group, across every age group, across every male and female, 2 out of 3 adult Americans pass away without a will every single year. That's 2 out of 3. And every time it leaves families in chaos and not knowing what to do. And that process is crazy expensive. I mean, at least in Illinois, you can't go to probate court without hiring an attorney. And that's $6,000 right off the bat. So, I mean, I can't express to people enough, whether you call us or whether you go to somebody around you, please do that, because you just don't want to do that to your family.
Yes. And I have that connection with Jay because I'm a retirement coach, and one of the first people that I coached in the senior arena had a lot of money and no will, and had a terminal illness and a wife that was also had some cognitive issues. No will, no POA, and one little docile son. And let me tell you, the first thing that I recommended is they go see a lawyer, and they did. I saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars. I hardly charged them anything compared to what I charge today, but that was that showed me how important your job is. And I tell people all the time, about lawyers that do this, that you need to go see them. You have to go get that. I have a will and a POA, and I don't even have a lot of money. I don't even have a lot of things to give my family. I was a single mom, and part of my trail of finances follows that. But yet I have a will and I have POAs as well, because I know how miserable it makes the family.
People they really need to avoid probate court, because anything can happen there. It's kind of like the Wild West. A judge can make decisions that you may not have wanted to happen. And if I can just take one more minute, I want to tell you this amazing story. So we had a client, this is a few years ago. They were in their early 80s, husband and wife. They lived in a little town near us, in a little tiny house that they had owned for many, many years. The husband had worked for Ma Bell. Okay, so like the phone company, retired in the late 80s to a pension of like $640,000. And we're not sure how. We don't know if it was Apple or whatever, but he had turned that into $35 million. Okay, but to look at him, you would have no idea. They had this little house, a 20-year-old car. They had a niece and nephew that were of his wife's that helped them, but nobody knew. So now they're in their early 80s, and they come to us and they go, we finally think it's time. And now the husband's starting to have some cognitive issues. And so, like, great, okay. And they tell us the estate's $35 million. Like,
and what? You waited this long.
Yeah. So here's what happens. Within a week, the wife passed away, unfortunately.
No.
So now we're like, okay, how are we we've got this guy worth all this money. And because she passed away, there's no real connection between him and the niece and nephew,
Oh,
right? Even though they took care of them for 20 years.
yeah.
So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to set up a trust, or how are we going to do this for him? So, and believe me, people do this. 2 weeks later, he dies of a broken heart. So now we have an estate that's worth $35 million and no will and nowhere for it to be directed.
Oh my God.
Can you guess what the
Can I give
judge?
you my address?
Let me tell you what the judge did, which is
What?
amazing. Because normally that money would have just gone to the state of Illinois, okay?
Yes, yeah, right.
Right. Well, the judge had a DNA test done on the gentleman, and
Oh,
it turns out there were 7 cousins that he had never met that lived in Germany and Poland, and each of them got $7 million of his estate.
wow. But how about the niece and nephew?
They never got a dime.
Oh, that's so sad. But
Well, I
see,
mean,
but
it is.
that's yeah, but there you go. I mean, that's why I do what I do. That's why I get people that before they retire make sure they got all that in order. That's the first thing.
It's
Get your
so important.
paperwork in order. And then you can have peace of mind and it gives a gift to your family because they won't be, looking around, what do I do? What do I do when you pass away or you have a
The, the
stroke and you can't
statistics,
talk?
the
Yeah.
statistics are amazing. 51% of people are the executor of their parents' will and they don't even know it. Okay.
Oh,
And then though of those 51%, they don't know where the will or the POA or any of that stuff is at. So
yeah.
half the time. So nobody knows what's going on. People,
Oh
please
man.
get your stuff together.
You know what? I think you need a podcast about this. Or something that it gets. I mean, you need to be. I feel like I'm an evangelist for wills and POAs, even though, like I said, I don't have a lot of money, but I got a will,
Well,
and
that's what I do, Connie. I get out every day and I talk to people, I talk to groups, I talk to
yeah,
firemen foundations and all kinds of
yeah. Oh,
things, and
good.
seniors and
Yeah,
young people. So that's really the. But
yeah,
if whoever's listening to this podcast, please
yeah,
just go talk to them just to get an idea of what you need to do.
yeah. So this is why you would work well with my friend Sarah because she can help you. That would be a good partnership. But I want to say that your story, your divorce story, we want to go back to that because this whole podcast is about instilling hope in people that say this is what happened. And like you started off, you said I didn't allow myself to be a victim. I made it work. And you went along one day at a time. You went through all that hell of somebody falsely accusing you of having to go to court, which now you work for a lawyer, which you have experience with that.
Everything comes full circle, right?
And then you made a decision of what's going to be the best way to go about your life next, and you moved and you made something fantastic out of your life with the fact that you designed that propeller. I think you got more in that brain. You probably should find
You,
some
you
more.
know, you know, Connie. Let me tell you where that brilliance comes from. Okay, it was after work on a Friday. I used to buy cases of beer for my workers on Friday, and we would stand around and have beer and talk about the week and whatever. And I'm standing there looking at a propeller, and I said to my main foreman guy, I said, "Can you go get like a hand tool?" He goes, "Yeah, okay." So I said, "Just do me a favor, cut a little ridge along the back edge of each of the 4 blades on that. Just put a little ridge on there. I think that if the water runs up that blade and there's a ridge there, it might catch it a little better."
Uh-huh,
And did that on a Friday.
uh-huh,
We took that prop down to the lake on Monday morning.
uh-huh.
It added 15 miles an hour to the boat with better
Wow.
hand, better hole shot. Just standing there drinking a beer, looking at it. So
Yeah.
I'm not brilliant. And again, I'm just a guy standing around drinking a beer, happy to not be in jail in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. I you know,
Yeah,
I was trying to think what to name this podcast, and I thought man marries a Karen with bad results. I have to think of a really good name because that person, I don't know how she keeps going. I don't know how that works. How come she didn't get arrested or finally somebody discovered that she's, she must know.
You know, I kind of left this out, but I will tell you, 20 years later, she
Yeah.
reaches out to me through LinkedIn a couple times.
Oh
I
my
didn't answer,
gosh.
I didn't answer her back, and then finally she reached out again on Facebook, and I went. So this was I want to say 2012 maybe. She reached out to me, and I said, "What do you want?" And she goes, I really need to talk to you." And I went, "I don't think so." And she goes, "No, it's really, really important." So here's the thing. She never wanted kids, but right after we got divorced, she married another guy and ended up pregnant and having a kid. And I thought to myself, she can't be trying to blame this kid on me because there's no way. But curiosity got the better of me.
Yeah.
So on New Year's Day, we went and met at a Panera Bread.
Oh my
And
gosh.
20 years later, after all the craziness,
Yeah.
and we sat down and we ate and we're just kind of talking about stuff. And I said, "So what is it you want to talk about?" She goes, "Well, I'm kind of going through something right now with another divorce, and I kind of realized all that I put you and your family through, and I just wanted to apologize." And I'm like, first of all the people you need to apologize to, my grandmother, my mother, my dad, they're all dead. So we're a little late on that program.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the sentiment. That's great. She says, "Yeah, I'm going to marry this other guy now. I'm going." And so I went. So I asked her, and again, I asked her. This was when she was on husband number like 11 or 12. I said, "Are you going to tell him about me and every Pat and all the other?" She goes, "No, it's none of his business."
Wow.
Can you? I mean, and I'm sure that's the same attitude she has now. So no, it's none of his business.
Wow.
Buyer beware.
Yeah. I'm speechless. I mean, I for one thing, I could not go from one person to the next like that with, I mean, I tried getting married a couple times and, I just got a bad picker. I end up like you each time, I'm not anywhere ahead. I never had to go to jail, but I never end on ahead. Okay. It wasn't like I got an alimony or big child support or anything like that. I got nothing. So I just had to make it on my own. And it's hard because at the end of your life, I can't retire because I don't really have the investment, to retire. So
she got most of that way back 30 years ago. But anyway, Connie, I'm so grateful to you to be able to tell that story. I really have never told anybody. Very few people know that except my family that went through it with me, because it's not the most, it paints me in the best light, but it happened to me, and there is life after difficult times, and I didn't think it would. Okay, I'll tell you straight up, but you face the problem head on and deal with whatever comes out of it, and that's really the best thing I can tell anybody, and that's how it all worked out for me.
You persevered, Jay, and I thank you for sharing that story. And I hope that there's a whole ton of guys that are feeling sorry for themselves right now or going through something like that they see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what all I want everybody to know with this podcast is wherever you are, whatever storm you're in, it's going to end. Storms don't last the entire life. They end. You may have another one down the road, but the one you have now is going to make you stronger for the next one. So
Maya Angelou once said, "Every storm runs out of rain." Yeah. And that has stuck with me for a long time. Every storm runs out of rain. You just got to weather through it, and it'll run out of rain, and there'll be a sunny day.
Well, we're going to end with that. And I just want to thank you, Jay, so much for your time and telling your story. And everybody that's listening, please like and subscribe and share. I have to say that because otherwise you'll just go on. I really need you to do that. And I hope that you enjoy this podcast with Jay. Thank you, Jay. I love you so much. See you later.
Love you too, honey. Thank you so much.
Bye.